Hello. Okay, we are here to do part 2 of my Q&A. I'm Angela Braniff. This is part 2, as I've already stated. If you'd like to see part 1, I will leave that link down below, as well as the other 2 previous Q&As that I have done on this channel. If there's questions that are asked, I will let you know if I've already answered them and direct you to the videos down below. I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time. We're going to get into these questions so that I can get to as many of them as possible. Y'all asked some really great questions. I put up a question box on Instagram and said, ask me about anything marriage, motherhood, large family, business, homeschool, all that kind of stuff. So we're just talking about anything and everything, honestly. If you're new here, welcome, hello. Be sure to subscribe. I make all kinds of content about motherhood and large family, lifestyle stuff, food stuff, homeschooling stuff, all the things. Subscribe if you're into that. Let's go ahead and get into the Q&A so I don't waste any more of your very precious time. The first question I'm going to answer, because it was the last one we left off on from part 1, is there's an increase in criticism of family channels on YouTube. Any thoughts? I have a lot of thoughts, and I actually am going to try to just be very concise because I don't want to turn this into a TED Talk about families on YouTube. I have said for many, many years, since we began sharing vlogs on YouTube, that there was a very thin line in the family space on YouTube. And it's in fact so razor thin that it can be hard to navigate, to balance. And especially because it very much comes in waves and trends about what family channels are doing and posting. It's really a shame to me because there are so many wonderful families who are genuinely wanting to share family life on YouTube and their family story in a way that is encouraging or even inspirational to other people for whatever reason. People like to see different dynamics. We love stories. We love hearing other people's stories. I've said this a million times, but stories are what change the world. Stories are how we understand people and their cultures really, really well, or the way that they live. And it's particularly interesting to us when people are living differently than we are. So I think that there's a lot of merit to sharing online. And what I don't like is the idea that the only people who can be online and share are some of these completely off the wall, sharing nothing that is family friendly or really of any kind of value and intrinsic value anyways, with any kind of real morals or standards or anything like that. There's a lot of that content out there to be found, a lot of it. And so one of the things that I've always liked about the family space is that for the families who are showing up and doing their best to be respectful and to do this in a way that is not sleazy, they're very much filling that void, if you will, in the market, and filling that void in terms of showing the positive side of family life, whether that's a large family living or living on a farm and, sort of living a very sustainable type of life, or maybe you're an all vegan family and you want to show people that you can raise healthy kids with a vegan diet, or maybe you live in a camper and you travel around. Whatever the case may be, I think there's so many interesting people and interesting stories out there to be shared. And it really pains me that a few will ruin it for the rest in terms of the way that people look at it and the way that they view it and the way that they kind of demonize it as a whole based off of a few really bad apples. And the reality is, we all know that money and power and things like that can absolutely change people. And when they get into a position where, wow, they're making a lot of money, that a lot of things are being thrown at them, deals are being thrown at them, they don't always make good decisions. And they don't even always make good decisions for their children. And just to kind of round this out really quickly, I think that the number one thing that people can do right now, just like we vote with our dollars, I've said this before, I said in a podcast episode, our clicks are our currency online. That is your currency. That's how you tell media outlets what kind of articles you're interested in reading. That's how you tell YouTube channels what kind of videos you want to see. That's how you tell the YouTube algorithm what kinds of channels and videos you like to see and others like to see. So our currency is our clicks online. So if you feel that there's a family that is exploiting their children, that you really don't like what they're doing, you really don't like the way that they're doing it, then do not watch their channel. Just like you wouldn't buy from a company that you vehemently disagreed with their ethics or something like that. If you disagree with a family's ethics online, then the best thing that you can do right now today is to no longer consume their content. Unsubscribe. Don't watch anymore. And I do think that there will eventually be legislation talking about this and dealing with this, just like for child actors and things like that. But I just think that ultimately the best thing that can happen is for the people who are consuming content online to essentially drive out the bad ones by not watching their content. If no one's watching and no one's subscribing, then there's no reason to continue doing it, right? Watch the people that you feel are doing it right, that you feel you can get behind. Watch those people, subscribe to their channels, and don't the others. I love that expression that we teach people how to treat us. I'm not sure who said it. That's not my quote, but it's one I love. We teach people how to treat us. It's very much the same thing online. We teach creators what kind of videos to make, what kind of videos we like from them, and what kind of content we like by watching it and by supporting them or not supporting them. So that's kind of my feelings on that in a somewhat short, concise way that was not short and concise at all. But I could honestly talk about it all day because I feel like there's so many different issues there to pull apart. I mean, it's like an onion, right? There's so many layers there to pull apart, but I'm not a big fan of all people being lumped into any one category based on one simple thing like the type of channel that they have. I don't think that that is indicative of a truth about all channels that wear the title of family channel. There's a lot of difference in the way that families show up online and share online, a massive difference. What can you do today that you were not capable of a year ago? That is a fabulous question. That is a fabulous question. Can I do today that I wasn't capable of a year ago? Well, I'm trying to train myself to do the splits. Why at 35 do I feel like I need to be able to do the splits? I don't know. Because you know why? Because I scrolled past a video on YouTube where someone was like, I trained myself to be able to do the splits in 8 weeks. And I was like, I want to do that. I've never been very flexible. And when I go to the chiropractor and he adjusts me, like when he has to like lift my leg up and I feel like something's going to crack or break, I've decided that I just would like for maybe the second half of my life to be a little more flexible and maybe healthier than the first half of my life. So anyways, I've been trying to train myself to be able to do both the middle splits and the whatever it's called, both ways of the splits, this way and this way. Why? Because I can. So I can't do it yet, but hopefully that will be on the list. Of course, there's a lot of questions about have I addressed the scandal with the family channel that has a child that they adopted and is no longer with them. And after a lot of thought and consideration and prayer about the best way for me to address this that made the most sense, not only for myself, but for the situation and for the child involved and for the other children involved, was ultimately that I decided to write a blog post with a sort of short and concise response and thoughts. So I will leave that link down below if you are curious. I'll just leave that link down there. Surviving a high-risk pregnancy on week 2 of hopefully 19 weeks of bed rest. Oh, my thoughts and prayers are with you, girl. It's high-risk pregnancies are very, very difficult. They take not only a physical toll on you, depending on what your situation is, but I feel like the emotional and mental toll. That for me is what has always been the hardest part of all of my difficult pregnancies, whether it was the hyperemesis part or later in terms of the high risk part and difficulties and stuff like with my twin pregnancy. It's always the mental toll that it takes on me. I feel like mental health can be very fragile, particularly when you are pregnant and when you are pregnant and going through something that is not a typical journey through pregnancy, if you will. And so I would just say to do everything that you can to guard your mental health. Find people that you can talk to, that you can be honest with, that will be very honest with you in return and help you to sort of keep your head above water mentally, because the physical exhaustion is terrible. Even the emotional toll of it is hard, but the mental toll of it was always the hardest part for me. So definitely people that you can hang on to, people that know you well and can help pull you out of that and keep your your eyes focused, keep you looking ahead and looking forward, and knowing that in the long term of life, in the broad span of life, this journey will be a short blip on the radar when you look back at it. And ultimately, that baby that you're going to hold in your arms in hopefully 19 weeks will be worth every single moment. Every single moment. They will be worth all of it. And you will hold them, and all will be right in your world, at least for that moment. My heart is with you, because that is a very hard and often lonely road to walk. Do you ever convince yourself that baby wearing for a long time counts as a workout? Yeah, it certainly does, especially if you're wearing a toddler or a beefy baby. You got a beefy baby, man, that is a workout for sure. Do you still consider international adoption a good option for children? So the short answer to that is yes, in the right circumstances. Not just the right circumstances for the family adopting, but the right circumstances for the child. International adoption can bring with it and usher in a whole host of other challenges, and adoption in and of itself is already can be a very challenging thing, and is, again, always born out of loss. So I do think that parents need to be incredibly thoughtful as they enter into an international adoption, about the country that they're adopting from, about their child's culture that they come from. I think that ensuring ethics in adoption is incredibly important. Who you work with is incredibly important. I'm not somebody that thinks that international adoption is always a bad idea or always the wrong thing. There are many children, particularly special needs children and older children, who need homes and families. And you just, as the adoptive parent, need to be willing to do a ton of research and be really, really honest with yourself about what you feel prepared for, what you feel willing to enter into. So I'm just gonna kind of stop there, but I talked about that more in that other video that I posted. Considering there's 10 of you, what is one thing you refuse to share? Cereal. I think I've talked about this before. I am super grossed out at the idea of sharing cereal specifically. I'll share food off my spoon. I'll share drinks sometimes, depending on the child and their age, because some of them just backwash like nobody's business, and I don't want a bunch of floaties in my drink. It just turns my stomach, the thought of sharing cereal. I don't know why. I think it's something about cereal already being soggy. I think I've said this before. I inhale my cereal. I don't eat it. I inhale it because I can't stand soggy cereal. So I inhale it really, really fast. Just not a fan of sharing cereal. I never hear anything about your workouts. What do you do? I don't. I go through spurts where I will work out very consistently. Mostly it's running, but I have been in a workout slump. I don't want to say that I don't have time, because I think that you make time for things that you prioritize. I just haven't prioritized it enough, and I would really like to. I found a YouTube channel that I really like her videos, and it's a lot of like home workouts with no weights, just like body weight stuff, and it's very intriguing to me. So I'm going to attempt to start utilizing some of her videos, but I've not been consistent with it for probably at least a good 6 to 8 months, which is disappointing, because I do always feel better both physically and mentally when I'm working out. Particularly my mental health. What it does for my mental health when I'm working out consistently is it does like wonders, truly. So I really need to get back to working out and being very consistent with it, at the very least for my mental health, Best and worst thing about being a YouTube, Instagram content creator. Off the cuff, I would say the best thing is the relationships that we've made with the community, and the beautiful, like fruitful things that we've seen come from it when we're able to raise money for nonprofits and organizations, when y'all show up and sponsor kids through these organizations, these nonprofits that we love. Gosh, there's just so many wonderful things that have happened that have helped others in the world, with like sort of through us, like as the conduit where people found us and then found those places through us. That has been something that I will forever cherish and am just truly like honored to be a part of. Now, the worst thing, I would say, feeling like this desire to constantly defend yourself when people say things about you or make assumptions about you or your family or your kids or your relationships or something like that. And you have this like inherent desire to defend yourself, to say like, no, that's not true. You're wrong. Like, where did you get, how did you get that out of that? Especially when people make assumptions based off of, vlogs, right? A 10 to 12 minute vlog 2 times a week. And then they feel like they understand your entire family dynamic, your relationships. So I would say, sort of a combination of feeling misunderstood, feeling like people are always reading into things you say or don't say. And then that sort of goes hand in hand with coming to terms with the uniqueness of being on this platform in a way that is like every single day you wake up and someone is saying something nasty to you or about you, growing a thick enough skin that you can deal with it and brush that off. And it takes time. Now you can get to a place where you could just kind of laugh that stuff off and delete it and move on. As I've gone through life and as I've gone through this YouTube journey, I have adopted this quote from Coco Chanel. At least they attribute it to her. I don't know if this was actually her or not. You never really know with those things. But I don't care what you think about me. I don't think about you at all. Yeah, so that's like my favorite quote now when it comes to like really just like hateful and nasty things, is like, okay, thanks for stopping by, and just delete and move on. How'd you turn your husband into a personal Benihana chef? I don't know. I got very lucky that he really decided he enjoyed cooking. I think investing in that Blackstone grill was a big step forward, okay? Because he enjoyed cooking, but now he loves it that he has that grill. I'm going to try to wrap this up. Just a few more. There's so many good questions in here. Is a hot dog a sandwich? I don't know. Is it a sandwich or a taco? It's like a taco. It's also like a sandwich. A hot dog sandwich. I think it is. Is it? I don't know. Y'all tell me. Is a hot dog a sandwich? Is cereal a soup? No. No, because cereal's cold and soup is hot, right? I mean, you could eat some soups cold, but most soups you eat warm, and cereal you eat cold. So I'm going to go with no on that one. Weird one, but do you think you could do a day of eating video? I thought about just doing like for our whole family, like what our family eats in a day. I know some people had expressed interest in what I eat in a day in terms of like doing the intermittent fasting, which I can do. I don't know. I don't know. Is that even interesting? Do y'all even want to see that? But maybe it would be more interesting if I did like our whole family. So can we get an update on Declutter My Life? Did the systems hold up? I do want to do a video update for you guys. I kind of thought I would do like maybe the 6-month mark. So maybe, I'm trying to remember, I started that journey in January. But so probably sometime in July, maybe I'll do an update video and let you guys know like what worked, what didn't, what I've changed, what I still need to change in terms of all of the decluttering stuff that I did earlier this year. So if you guys are interested, let me know down below in the comments and I will do an update on that as well. All right, I think that is going to be it for this video. I hope that y'all enjoyed the Q&A. Don't forget to go watch part 1 if you haven't seen it, and I'll link the other Q&As I've done down below. But that is it for today, y'all, and I will see you guys again very soon. Bye.
One last ticket before it's gone.